You think your first 90 days at a new job are meant to help you adjust, but the truth is, they exist to quietly decide your future before you even realize you're being judged. You walk into a new role with energy, new title, better pay, fresh start. You show up early, you listen carefully, you take notes like everything matters because to you it does. You believe you're being given time, time to learn, time to settle in, time to prove yourself. So you do what most people do. You overperform. You say yes to everything. You stay late just to be seen. You join meetings you don't need to be in. You volunteer for tasks no one wants. You think you're building momentum, but deep down something feels off. The feedback is vague. The conversations are short. No one tells you you're doing anything wrong. But no one is pulling you forward either. You assume it's normal. You assume it's early. You assume you just need more time. But what if the game you're playing isn't the game being scored? Because here's what's really happening. From day one, you're not just onboarding. You're being evaluated, quietly, constantly. And most of that evaluation is invisible to you. The 90-day period isn't a gift. It's a system, a structure designed for one purpose: to make a decision about you at the lowest possible cost. Think about it. Your benefits aren't fully active yet. Your long-term incentives haven't kicked in. Your leverage is at its absolute lowest. And the company, they have everything they need. They already know your resume. They already believe you can do the job. That's not what they're testing. They're testing something else entirely. Not your effort, not your willingness, not even your skill. They're testing your judgment, your instincts, your ability to operate in uncertainty. And most importantly, whether you fit the system they've already built. Here's the problem. You think you're proving yourself by doing more, but they're evaluating how you think while doing it. Two completely different things. You stay late to show commitment. They observe whether you understand priorities. You ask questions to learn faster. They assess whether your questions signal clarity or confusion. You volunteer for extra work. They watch whether you choose strategically or impulsively. From the outside, it looks identical, but internally it's not. You think you're building a reputation. They're building a profile. And the scoreboard, you'll never see it. You think your first 90 days are about learning the job. Reality is they're about being silently measured before your value becomes expensive. If this hits, comment one below. Because this is where most people lose control of their career without even realizing it. There's another layer most people completely miss. The version of you in those first 90 days isn't real. It's a performance. You're sharper than usual, more alert, more proactive. You tolerate things you normally wouldn't. You suppress doubts. You push harder than is sustainable. And management knows this. They expect it. They understand that what they're seeing is not your baseline. So they're not just evaluating what you show. They're trying to detect what you're hiding. Are you naturally decisive? Or just temporarily confident? Are you independent? Or waiting for direction? Are you strategic? Or just reactive under pressure? They're reading between your actions, looking for patterns, looking for signals. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not being evaluated over time. You're being compressed into a decision. In a normal environment, trust builds slowly. People open up gradually. Feedback evolves. But in this system, everything is accelerated. Every interaction carries weight. Every mistake leaves a trace. Every moment becomes data. And data builds a narrative. A narrative that gets written without your input, without your awareness, without your permission. This is where the real shift happens. You think performance is about what you do. Reality is performance is about how people interpret what you do. That's the difference. And once you understand this, you start seeing things differently. You start noticing patterns, short check-ins that never deepen, conversations that stay surface level, feedback that sounds positive but leads nowhere, no expansion of responsibility, no inclusion in bigger decisions, no real investment. These are signals, but most people ignore them. Because nothing is explicitly wrong. No one tells you you're failing. No one gives you a negative review. Everything feels neutral. But neutrality in a system like this is not safety. It's slow elimination. Because decisions in organizations are rarely loud. They're quiet, gradual, final, long before they're visible. This is the part no one tells you. There is a moment where the decision about you is already made. And after that moment, nothing you do changes the trajectory. You can work harder, stay later, be more available, but it won't matter because the system has already categorized you. And once that happens, your role doesn't collapse instantly. It shrinks. Your scope gets smaller. Opportunities pass without you. Projects happen around you. Your name disappears from rooms you didn't even know existed. And the most dangerous part, your title stays the same. So you think you're still in the game, but you're not. You're being managed out without confrontation. This is how modern organizations operate. Not through conflict, through quiet control, through subtle exclusion, through decisions made in rooms you'll never enter. Here's the system truth. Companies don't reward effort. They reward alignment. They don't promote potential. They promote predictability. They don't care how hard you work. They care how safe you are to bet on. And safety in their eyes is not about you. It's about how easily you fit into what already exists. If you disrupt too much, you're a risk. If you hesitate too much, you're a liability. If you don't signal clarity early, you become invisible. And invisibility is the beginning of the end. Because once you're not seen as essential, you become replaceable. And once you're replaceable, you're already on the way out. Now imagine this. You spend months trying harder, thinking you just need to prove yourself. But the system already decided. So every effort you make is happening inside a box that's already closing. That's the trap. And the longer you stay unaware, the deeper you fall into it, because you start blaming yourself. You think, maybe I need more time. Maybe I'm not good enough yet. Maybe I just need to work harder. But it's not about effort anymore. It's about awareness. The people who move fast, the ones who rise quickly, they understand something early. They don't just learn the company. They study how the company is learning them. They watch the watchers. They decode signals. They identify who matters. They pay attention to what actually moves decisions. Not what's written, but what's real. Because every company has two systems, the visible one and the invisible one. The visible system tells you, complete your tasks, hit your targets, attend your meetings. The invisible system asks, who noticed you? Who trusts your judgment? Who mentions your name when you're not in the room? How do you respond when things are unclear? Do you lead or wait? Do you think or just execute? And this invisible system is the one that decides everything. If you don't understand it, you're playing blind, and blind players don't last long. So what's the shift? You stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an observer. You don't just perform. You interpret. You don't just follow. You analyze. You don't assume you're being evaluated fairly. You assume you're being evaluated constantly, and you act accordingly. You start asking better questions, not just about your job, but about perception, about influence, about positioning. You look for feedback that isn't said directly. You read behavior. You notice patterns. You stop chasing approval and start building clarity, because clarity is what signals confidence. And confidence is what systems trust. Not loud confidence, not fake confidence, but quiet, consistent clarity. The kind that shows up in decisions, in communication, in how you handle pressure. Because in the end, that's what they're really measuring. Not how much you do, but how you think while doing it. And once you understand that, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on the wrong game and start playing the real one. Because the first 90 days were never about you settling in. They were about them locking in their judgment. And if you don't see that early, you'll spend the rest of your time trying to reverse a decision that was never meant to be reversed. So remember this, you're always being observed. But more importantly, you're always being interpreted. And the difference between staying stuck and moving forward is whether you learn to see the system before it sees through you. If this changed how you think, consider subscribing.